Okay, so this video we're going to do 8.5 factoring. So we used to do FOIL, we're going to do the opposite of that. So we're going to work backwards from that this video. So say I give you this problem, x squared plus 9x plus 18, and I have this x plus 3, x plus, and then you got to fill in this blank. So I want to think of two things that when I multiply them, I get this, but when I add them, I get this. Okay, because if I'll show you what it's like to reverse it. So two things that multiply to get me 18. Well, 6 times 2, or 6 times 3, sorry. 9 times 2, 18 times 1. That's all I got. But I also want them to add to get 9. So this is the only one. I already have the positive 3, so now I need a positive 6. So last time I was giving you x plus 3 times x plus 6. So to check it, you can use your FOIL. So first, x squared, outside, inside, and last. So here's how we get that plus 9x and then plus 18 at the end. So we're trying to figure out what multiplies to get me 18 but adds to get me 9. So this one, what multiplies to get me 15 but adds to get me negative 8. So we already got a negative 5 in there. So negative 5 times what gives me 15? Well, a negative 3 gives me 15. So we're going to look, when I add them together, does it give me negative 8? Well, yeah, it does. So all we have to do is put a minus 3 in there. Okay, so something that multiplies to get me negative 40, but adds to get me negative 6. I already have negative 10, so negative 10 times what gives me negative 40? Positive 4 will. And when I add them, I get negative 6. So we can just put a 4 in here. Okay, now I'm not giving you anything. So I need to see what multiplies to get me negative 20, but adds to get me a positive 1. So we got 10 times negative 2, negative 2 times, negative 10 times positive 2, negative 5 times positive 4, 5 times negative 4, negative 20 times positive 1, 20 times negative 1, and that is all I can think of right now. So now I need to see which one of those adds together to get me a positive 1. Well, 10 plus negative 2 is a positive 8. Negative 10 plus a positive 2 is a negative 8. Negative 5 plus 4 gives me a negative 1. 5 times negative 4 gives me a positive 1. So now I just got to write it with a positive 5 and a negative 4. Okay, and then I'm going to want you guys to FOIL this back out so that you can check your answers. So I'd get x squared, so first, outside, inside, and then last. So x squared plus x minus 20. So that was right. So I want you guys to FOIL it back out just to make sure your answer is correct. Okay, so we need two things that multiply to get me negative 54 and add to get me 3. So I got, well, I automatically think of 6 times 9, so negative 6 times positive 9. Or positive 6 times negative 9. So which one of those adds together to get me a positive 3? Well, negative 6 plus 9 gives me a positive 3. So I'm going to write x minus 6, because it's a negative 6, times x plus 9. And then you're going to check your answer. So you'd get x squared minus 6x plus 9x minus 54. So x squared plus 3x minus 54, which is what we have. So there's my answer. Okay, two things that multiply to get me negative 6 and add to get me 1. So I'm going to do, how about negative 3 times positive 2, or 3 times negative 2. And it looks like this, when I add them together, they get me 1. So x plus 3, x minus 2. So if I FOILed it back out, I would get x squared plus 3x minus 2x minus 6, which is x squared plus x minus 6. So that answer is correct. Okay, I recommend pausing the video and trying this one yourself to see if you get the correct answer or not. So I'm going to do it. So the only thing I can think of that gives me, when I multiply negative 5, is negative 5 times positive 1 and 5 times negative 1. In which one of those adds to get me negative 4? Well, negative 5 plus 1 gives me negative 4. So x minus 5, x plus 1. So I'm going to distribute, do our FOIL, so I get x squared minus 5x plus x minus 5, which is x squared minus 4x minus 5, which is what our original answer was, so that is my answer. Okay, so again, pause the video, try it yourself, and then see if you get the same answers as me. So I need things that multiply to get me 63, but add to get me 16. So it's positive, so I know 9 times 7 can get me 63, which I automatically look, and that adds to get me 16, so that works. So we got x plus 9 and x plus 7. If for some reason you can't think of things that multiply to it, I would do 1 times that number. 2 times what number gives me 63, 3 times what number gives me 63, 4 times what number gets me 63, and I would go as high as I can until I repeat. So then I would check it, so I'd get x squared plus 9x plus 7x plus 63, which is x squared plus 16x plus 63. So we know that if it's a plus plus here, our answer is going to have a plus plus in it as well. Okay, I recommend pausing the video again and trying it yourself. So things that multiply to give me 27, but add to get me negative 12. Well, we got 1 times 27, 9 times 3. Then we got negative 1 times negative 27, and negative 9 times negative 3. So do any of these add to get me a negative 12? This one does. So x minus 9, x minus 3, and then you would go ahead and check your answer. So just remember, if it's a plus sign in the back and a minus sign in the front, it's going to be a minus minus. Okay, so 2 things that multiply to get me 24, but add to get me negative 11. So I've got 24 times 1, negative 24 times negative 1, negative 12 times negative 2, 12 times 2, and then I got negative 6 times negative 4, 6 times 4, 8 times 3, negative 8 times negative 3. So I went from 1 times something, 2 times something, 3 times something, 4 times something, 5 times something never gets me 24, and I already got to 6. So do any of these add to get me negative 11? Negative 8 plus negative 3 gives me negative 11, so I got x minus 8, and then x minus 3. And then again, I would want you guys to check it, to FOIL it back out to make sure that you got the right answer.